I really think that women need to be given the message that there isn't. There's no glass ceiling. It's like the world is your oyster, go get it. And everyone, and that's a message really for everyone, because what we're talking about is equity.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? Okay, you got to do a little bit better than that. Hello, how are you today? Thank you so much. My name is Cass Cooper, and I have the pleasure of moderating this amazing panel. I'm going to give them a little bit of a moment to introduce themselves, and then we'll get right into some questions and a little bit of data and information. And we'll just start with Therese right here.
Hi, everyone. Super excited about this day. It's already been incredible. My name is Therese Johnson, and I'm a Chief Data and AI Officer, also a visionary architect, and super excited. Like I stated, you'll learn a little bit more about me as we go along the journey, but this panel you guys are amazing.
Killer, right?
Yeah.
Excited.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Jane Frankland. I am an author, a speaker, and I hate using this word. I'm an influencer, but I always pre-frame it with that. I'm speaking about it tomorrow. I'm very much a thought leader, influencer. I work with some great big brands like MasterCard and Microsoft and lots of others. And I also use my influence to do good in the world. I have put a lot of women through my scholarships, which followed on from my book. Over 442 women. That's a value of about $800,000 US. And prior to all of that, I had a pen testing company, one of the first in the world, over 28 years ago.
All right. Alona?
Hi, my name is Alona Geckler. I'm Chief of Staff and Vice President at Acronis. And I hope I'm also an influencer, at least inside Acronis, and for the MSP community for diversity. So I'm responsible for diversity programs at Acronis for the last 5 years. So we started small, and then we were growing, and I'll speak about it later today. Thank you for coming here. Happy to see you all.
Oh, we're not done. We've got more
the home court
experts
advantage.
Go ahead. Tell us
I'm Melyssa Banda. I'm Senior Vice President of Edge Solutions at Seagate. I'm responsible for our Edge portfolio, our own cloud environments, our go-to-market strategy, our corporate marketing, as well as our engineering. So happy to be here and participate in this event. It's been a great event so far.
And like I said, my name is Cass Cooper. I am a writer for CRN.com US. I am also an equity strategist, and I love all things data, so that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. I'm going to start with you, Alona. So tell us a little bit about the new Acronis survey, Fear of Missing Out. It's a fear of missing out at work. And tell us some of the key themes and things we need to know.
Thank you for your question. So it's actually the second year we're running this survey. And this year, listening to the feedback from last year, we increased the geographies as well as we included men in the survey. Yes, we are inclusive. So the idea is to research men and women on the topic of fear of missing out and to see what are the obstacles in terms of attracting more females into the workspace, in IT specifically, and what are the obstacles for growing. Because one thing is to attract and to hire, but a much bigger problem, at least this is what I hear from MSPs, even today and yesterday at the event, is how to grow, how to help with the career advancement. And this is what we try to understand in this survey across different geographies in order to help with advices, to implement them for ourselves first, but also to help the MSP community to share this knowledge.
I think we have a couple of slides. So can you walk us through a little bit of the data and the information?
Yeah, the problem is I didn't get it.
I don't think we were so excited we didn't grab the See, and we love it. Let's hear it for Georgina.
Thank you so much. Technology is everything, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the survey. Who did we ask? I think it ended up being 666 different folks that were surveyed across several different countries. We've got a little bit of information about some of what the comparison between men and women, which is a little bit of, I mean, I wasn't surprised when I read it, but maybe some people in the audience are surprised about the disconnect there. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is that on some questions there is like more or less similar views, but some of the questions in terms of are there any obstacles for women in tech industry, there is a disconnect. So more women recognize there are obstacles, while men still think that things are equal and easier to achieve. I don't know if I should go already into the first angle of equal access. Women think that only 40% of women think that there is equal access to career opportunity and career progression, while 60% of men are convinced that there is this equal access. So you see this is the first of the findings of these discrepancies. And there are obviously many ways how we could help to accelerate this access, but the first step is to accept that there is a problem, and also the first step is to accept that there is discrepancy, how we look at it, how women look at it and how men look at it. Because if you look in the industry, if you look in your company, most probably maximum 25% of employees will be females, while 75% of men, more or less, right? This is the numbers for the tech industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we want to make sure that every bit of information that we give today is actionable, right? It doesn't mean anything if we just have a data survey and we don't put anything into action. So I want to make sure that I come to you. Jane, tell me a little bit, your book, Insecurity, is one of the premier things that sparks about cybersecurity and women and infrastructure. But I want to ask you, how do we make sure data like this leads to systemic change? What could that look like?
Yeah, I think we've first got to look at the data, and we've got to make sure that it is true for a start. There's a lot of data out there, and the methodologies aren't actually really very good. So we need to look at methodologies that are based in science to make sure that the data is actually true, and get enough of that before kind of making decisions. And then we need to really tie in KPIs. We need to make people accountable. If we don't make people accountable for this, then it's not going to happen, because the work that we need to do is difficult. It's not easy at all. So KPIs are essential. We need to make sure women are paid fairly. We need to make sure there is development, and we need to make sure that they are not having to compromise between taking a pay increase or having a title, because a lot of the time that's what they're having to do. We can have this title and look as if you're getting a promotion, but we're not going to pay you anymore, or it will be the other way around. So KPIs are really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Does anyone have anything they want to add, or are we all in agreement that we need to have measurable success? All right, we love that. So let's talk a little bit about this perception gap, right, and the differences between men and women and the lived experiences of women and the perception of what that experience is by men either in the room or in the survey itself. So I'm going to come to you, Melyssa. What happens when innovation in organizations, mistakes the perception change, right? Maybe you have some folks who are elevated into a leadership role, but they're not earning the same, or maybe it's just one person inside of the C-suite. What can we do about that perception of progress versus actual progress?
I certainly think I like the idea of something that's more measurable, but I think the idea of perception versus reality, and I think us as women in technology have to be really our strongest advocates and make sure that we're certainly visible, that it's clear you talk a lot about advocacy. I think you're going to touch on that, but I think it's really important to really bridge that gap between what is perception versus reality, and ensuring that women are their own best advocates inside of large corporations or small corporations. And it's easy to be thrown a token title, but it's, I get to a point often, breaking the glass ceiling is one thing, but there's also the reality that women face, which is glass cliffs, right? And it's a whole new term of, you might get the title, but are you surrounded with the right resources that enable you to be successful? And so those are things that I always encourage anybody in any organization to make sure you've got the subsystems and the resources around you, because again, there is that token you often get, but the reality of, do you have the support systems in place? Do you have the resources? Do you have the budgets? Do you have the staff to be successful? Or are you really being set up for failure because you were given the title and so forth?
Yeah. Trace, do you have anything to add? What would you say about that whole idea of the glass cliff, or the idea that we break through the ceiling, but then we don't have the right resources available?
Spot on.
Yeah?
Spot on. And then we're going to take one step back. The term FOMO. When I look at the term FOMO, I look at it as we're fearing that we're going to miss out something in the marketplace, so we need to hurry up and get on board the next Uber or the next NVIDIA. I read the survey and appreciate everything. But the moment that we open our mouths and start to talk about the word fear, I don't fear a thing. I'm not missing out on anything. Mm-hmm. I'm demanding that people look at the data and clearly see, from the McKinsey reports to all of the different reports that are out here, the phenomenal reports that Acronis has done, that you all have taken the time to survey. I don't think any woman in here fears that we are missing out anything in IT. I think the tough part about where we all are is we're in a space where we see the data, but for some reason, we want to bury it. And part of this, we all have to be okay with. We have centuries. We were not here when these rules were developed. Were you here? No. This is where it was.
We're young.
I'm very young, so I don't know about anybody else in the room.
I'm just saying. I'm not 100 years old, not 200 years old. We're working in a 400, 500-year-old system. Why are we surprised?
Yeah.
It is tough. It is hard for men who have been running things for a very long time, generational legacy. Here's what my father, here's what my mother, they brought me up to bring. And then here we come along saying, oh, that 400 years has to shift. Mm-hmm. The data is showing it. We now have a heart problem. We don't have a data problem. We have a heart and mind shift. And we now are in a stage and in a season that if we don't fix it, AI will take a whole nother trajectory, because we're not at the table together as a team, partnering to infuse algorithmic models into machines that are blended and allow us to put the best of ourselves into this. Yeah. And now we're putting one-sided things to this. That's what I'm more concerned about.
Yeah.
It's scaling bias. AI has the potential. It's already done it before. And is still doing it. But again, there's not the interest to do anything about this from the majority. And what I think about the whole glass ceiling and the glass cliff, actually, I love what you just said, by the way. It's amazing. It's so empowering. Most of my career, I've worked as an entrepreneur. I did a tiny stint at Accenture as a managing director and at another company as an operations director. But I don't like this whole kind of glass ceiling and glass cliff. I really think that women need to be given the message that there isn't. There's no glass ceiling. It's like the world is your oyster, go get it. And everyone, and that's a message really for everyone, because what we're talking about is equity. We want a solution that is fit for every single person. So instead of like having this, there's that barrier. That
so
there
aligned.
isn't.
There's
nothing. It's go for it.
We're aligned,
it's yours.
and we're aligned.
And if it's
there's
not
a ceiling,
there,
well, we can't
go
deny
somewhere
it.
else.
Now there's a cliff. Now there's a tsunami.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, AI.
So let's talk a little bit about how we can make this a little bit more pragmatic, right? Because I think it's one thing to talk about and speak in metaphors and figure out what that looks like, but what does that actually tangibly look like? A lot of times we have the onus is put back on women in order to change our mindset, think of differently about the way that we can approach the world, come up with different ideas. But I think one of the great things that Acronis did with this was we're calling men in, right?
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be to you, Alona, like, what would you think that men could take away from, or I don't like should is a very dangerous word, but what can they take away from this survey in order to not put that ownership back on women, in order to change our mindsets, but change the policies and procedures that are around it?
I have a slide because I have a clicker. Right, so there are some measures which could help, and actually they could help both men and women. And while I started these initiatives initially for women, but we include men in them as well. So the first area is mentorship, and I believe it helps tremendously to progress the career from two aspects. One aspect is training the soft skills, because this is something which you can't get usually trained in university or just doing your job. You want to learn how to run negotiations better, how to say no when everybody is pushing you to say yes, and many other topics you can discuss during mentorship sessions. But the other aspect of mentorship, which sometimes is forgotten, is building connections. What Melyssa was saying before is you need to build network to be successful, right? Do you have all the resources to be successful? And this is what you get also through mentorship, because you're building connection with senior executive who will think of you and who will support you when the right moment comes, or even wrong moment comes and you maybe even think you're not ready, but more senior executive thinks they're ready. Connected to it is advocacy. So again, back to, do you have all the resources in place? Do you have the support in place? This is sometimes what is missing. It's not enough to have the title. It's not enough to have the job scope. Now I'm senior vice president, I'm responsible for all of you here, right? I need to build connection to you. I need you to like me and to be ready to go with me to conquer the world. And this is what you're building through connections, through network. And this is what we learn ourselves, and we can empower younger generations to be with us here and to progress. So I think for me, these are the two main areas, but of course there is much, much more to mention.
Melyssa, you and I spoke a little bit about mentorship and advocacy and sponsorship. Can you give a little bit, clue them into what we talked about over coffee?
Sure. I mean, I think advocacy is really such a powerful statement. It's one thing to get mentors, and I think about it, even as an executive today, I have coaches, right? People outside that I really can bounce things off of. I'm always learning in new areas, but this idea of advocacy is really important to make sure that you have people that can help champion your career. I've had really two major advocates in my career. I can think of my first boss at Western Digital, who saw just tremendous potential, and she cleared every roadblock possible, and everything else was left to me. And then here at Seagate, I'd say my CEO single-handedly has been my biggest advocate. He has recognized my skill sets and helped advocate for me to take on additional responsibilities and scope commensurate with pay and resources and things like that. But for me, that was really powerful to have somebody in your corner. And advocacy takes on such a different form because they're building, that cross-stakeholder perception of you versus a mentoring is offering a one-on-one, whereas when you have a champion, really, they're your PR organization, right? They're your network of individuals to help you navigate into these new roles. So I see this as a responsibility as leaders. I see it certainly as women, but as men, identifying who you can be advocates for, because a lot of times, I'm typically an apolitical person, and I don't spend enough time, but when you have advocates, they know where those roadblocks are and are helping you work those well in advance of you having to do all that heavy lifting yourself.
Yeah, I think one of the phrases that I always come back to is women are over-mentored and under-sponsored.
Yes.
And we just keep telling women, okay, well, if you do this and you do this, if you look this way, if you dress this way, we were talking about just even the pink tax of having to be able to show up and the privilege that comes along with that, where women have, like, you got to make sure you dress a certain way. It just makes it a little bit better when you have someone who is able to sponsor that.
Yeah.
Do you want to allude a little bit and explain the pink tax to everybody that we talked about backstage?
Yeah, well, I mean, the pink tax is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in fact, what I want to do is like come onto the conversation that we had just before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which kind of is to do with this. You know, I asked Cass whether or not I should wear my jacket. And we've got black here. You said, yeah, wear your white jacket because you're going to stand out more. You don't want to blend in. You don't want to be invisible. And this is one of the parts of us being more visible. We have to think about what we're wearing so much more. And I don't want to make guys wrong at all. What I want is for us to be able to just turn up and not to be judged negatively or to be less influential because of what we're wearing. You know, if we can just rack up in what the guys are wearing or whatever we want to wear, that'd be great. And it would be really lovely to be able to do that, but we can't because we're judged. We have to look a certain way. And that's the nature. We have to be so much more considerate of how we show up because we're judged so much more fiercely and harshly by so many people, women and men and all genders included in all of that, and ourselves.
Yeah.
And I want to go back to something Melyssa said, and both of you, all you're discussing now. You get to a point in your career, especially as you're moving to C-suite roles, advocacy, sponsorship, mentorship, but man, my friends got me accelerated. Friendships are critical. When a person knows your capability beyond you, when they know what you can do and what you can aspire and reach to beyond your own capacity, they will advocate for you to put you in a role that you are not even prepared for and ready for. I need that friend. Because then it moves beyond advocacy. It moves beyond, because I know Charlie, his wife, and his kids. I care about them. He cares about me. And that is the relationship that got me through Microsoft elevated, because I began to move past what I need, and I began to serve the needs of others. What do you need? What can I do for you? You don't know me well, but I want to serve you. But I know one day, it's not about me needing anything. It's because if I empower you to do your role and you be the best, I know what's going to come back. It's seed planted in the ground. You got to learn how to plant seeds into people's lives and to care about their families. Know why they're there. Why do they wake up and show up every day? It'll change your life when you move beyond the metrics and the data and move to humanity. Because the more you care about people and when they can trust you, you said it earlier, Melyssa, changes your life. So look at all aspects of a relationship and go after all of it, because you need everybody in the room advocating for you to say, we don't know what we're going to do. We got a role. AI is changing everything. It's disrupting everything. I don't have a clue of who I can put in this new role. Like, guess what? Treese, she's sitting right over there. She can take something out of nothing and turn it into something. I've seen her do it. That's where we got to get to in our own personal human side of things.
Yeah.
And I think also continue on what Tris is saying, bringing humanity on the table. This is something which goes very natural and should not be forgotten. Start your meeting by asking, how do you feel? How are your children? Like if you know the family, your husband, everything is okay or not okay. So bringing this little flavor of humanity changes the day,
But you've got to make
changes the
people feel
mood.
safe to begin with.
That's good.
Makes
Before doing,
safe.
you've
It
got
also
to
makes
have that
people like,
safety.
to be connected to you, because the tasks on business we need to solve, we'll get through it. But this relationship, as Tris is saying, which we're building through solving the tasks, this will stay forever. So 100% rely.
Let's go. Woo, we got more friends to make. Yeah.
So I kind of want to talk a little bit about, we've alluded to it a little bit, but we haven't really touched on the AI thing. And one of the things that was so interesting yesterday, I had the pleasure of being here for the media events yesterday, and We really talked about the skills gap and how there's this gap in AI, or there's this skills gap that we have currently in cybersecurity. And what always is interesting to me is we talk about the skills gap and we talk about how AI is going to hopefully fulfill that. But then we also have this information and data that there's women out here who are looking to get into AI. So I guess I'm going to take it to my AI expert over here on the end. What are your thoughts on solving the problem of a skills gap in cybersecurity with women, with AI? Is that in conflict?
We have to scale. We have a scale problem right now. The term cybersecurity is loaded. There's so many opportunities now beyond networking, looking at packets and being able to run machine learning and anomaly models, needing a data scientist. You have to have human beings who are at the table who can solve problems. So number one, what I say is, do we have a gap problem? But it's on all sides. We as women have to know we don't need to wait for anybody to give permission to go learn.
That's right.
There are so many courses out here that are stood up. I think even Google, Microsoft, they're offering all that stuff for free, no cost. Then you can work inside of a startup company and say, listen, you may not pay me a dime, but I'm going to exchange value. I want a value exchange. I'm going to come into your company and light up the stuff I'm learning, and you give me a title, and every time that I perform, you give me reference, because you got to have references. Startup companies need us now, and there's a lot of them out there that you can go and exchange value. What we're not doing, Cass, is setting up an ecosystem that allows everyone to play, to come in and learn, go deploy yourself, move your gifting, scale your gifting, and then go inside of companies like what Melyssa has, like Jane is talking about, Alona, all the things you have partners. Then you go work partner ecosystems. Listen, it is time out that we sit and wait for anyone to come and bring us anything. You deserve more.
Yeah.
You deserve more. If we could solve the gap together, then we're standing in someone's face. It's no longer a gender. It's no longer a gap. It's the fact that I'm standing here. I have worked. I've got 4 certifications that I've invested in myself. You're going to move yourself out of the way because I'm here to bring you value. And those are the kind of conversations that we got to start having. I think that's the challenge, is we're not looking at the problem the right way, humbly.
See, I think the problem is hiring, access. It's not that we don't have the women are there. And like coming back to your points, which are all absolutely amazing, like going in and doing that work for free accounts for privilege. If you've got a family to feed or you're pivoting on your career, you've got to find a way.
Well, keep in mind, I did both. So I'm a gig girl. I'm a gig. So I worked in startup while I was at corporate, and I did a lot of sitting on boards. So that's how I got around it, is I went and said, hey, I'll be on your advisory board. So I still get paid. It's just the problem is it's time now.
But what I love about
a reinvention of we have to do twice as much to get half as far. Like I'm just
You don't
asking.
have a choice.
Yep, you do, but also you've got to be creative and you've got to sell yourself.
Bam.
You've got to put yourself forward. So yeah, not waiting for promotion, which is what we usually do. Not waiting to be perfect because we're never ready. And that's where the advocates and the sponsors come in and to like say, you're ready, go girl.
But you got to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means that your kids, listen, everybody in this house, it's learn time. Y'all little old selves go over there, go learn, sit in the corner, leave mommy alone. We're all learning, and when we get done, we're going to go to a movie and go get ice cream. It means the entire family infrastructure has to be redesigned so that mommy can learn. Saturdays, weekends, we may not go to, the house of a birthday party. Maybe we go to the library, you read, and then you get rewarded after.
Yeah.
The entire infrastructure now has to shift, and I don't know what that looks like for everybody, but we all got to shift now. So that we can have balance in our lives, learn, and get ahead. It's going to take something different.
It requires to work double right now, and this is what actually research also says, that we need to invest much more in order to progress.
Yeah. I would say, though, when you have these new curves, like AI, the playing fields are much more level. Right? Because this is new technology we all have access to. And I love what you said. You do not need permission. right? And I've always taken my own learning. I even carve out 10 to 15%, sometimes 20%, just to learn. Right? And you have to be able to do that. I mean, I was meeting with a customer just earlier this week, and they said something where you're very technical. And I thought, you know, if they had only known my journey from starting when I started in sales, I went on to the shop room floor to do PCBA assembly and program SMT machines. It didn't matter that I never was not an engineer at that point in my career, but the fact that that's how I learned. I built 1U servers. I built out data centers myself. No issues doing that, and that was my style of learning. And that hands-on learning, I think, is so important to take that. And that what I do love about AI is that there is more free resources available than any other technology we've had access to. And so, you know, ensuring not only your employees as a leader, but you as an individual start to experiment. You know, I still go to universities. I still do a lot of that work myself. And I don't ask permission because I'm taking that into my own hands to some extent. But what I am excited, what AI represents, is really a new opportunity where the odds aren't nearly as stacked against you going in, and the resources are abundant to get access to new skills.
Yeah. Alona, is there
I
anything?
went very fast to give it
Yeah.
just suddenly another angle.
Yeah.
100% agree with what was said, and we do invest and need to invest even more in education and being more technical. On the other hand, while AI is getting more and more speed, a lot of things can be outsourced.
Yeah.
What stays on the table and what is very much needed is soft skills, empathy, these human parts, which I described before. And this is where we can step up, right? Because we have them naturally. And if we continue developing them, this can be our next competitive advantage. While the technical things, while we upskill, they kind of make everybody more or less equal.
Alana, you're brilliant. Let me tell you why. Not a plug for my book. I said that. So I've been in intelligence.
You're brilliant then.
I've been in intelligence a couple of decades. AI for the last decade. And I've said the same thing. That's what my book is. It says 5Q, by the way. And, but it's the 5 intelligences that AI can't replace.
Yeah.
And it's everything you just said. EQ, right? And we're introducing HQ, humility, because you have to be able to know when you fail. Just say it. Because AI can't, go ask ChatGPT a question, it will make it right because it's been programmed not to be wrong. And it will give you hallucinative information back. We built the daggone thing. And so because whoever built it, put the algorithm in and say, don't admit when you're wrong about something. So what it does is give you wrong information and says it's right, and you go check it out and it's wrong. Humility, morality, right? All of the things that we bring to an algorithm, all the way to dominion and transcendent. And that's my big thing is we've got to get to a place where we are so evolved as humans. We're so optimized. We have a human upgrade that's so incredible that we now are leading the charter. So you're right. That is the competitive
And this is what
differentiation
brings
women have.
us to the table.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that.
point.
So we got to close out. I mean, I could talk to y'all forever. Let's just put that. Maybe we'll have lunch and just hang out a little bit.
Who needs lunch when we have such a lovely discussion?
Oh, I need lunch.
Oh.
No, but I want to just close out with one final question quickly with everyone. What barrier for women would you dismantle first, if you could?
The mind.
The mind, barriers.
The
of mind.
mind
Limitation,
is,
like the limits
mind
are
is-
within us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the mind is your friend or is your foe.
Yeah.
Get your mind right. Know who you are. Know how powerful you are. Know how incredibly you're a being that was made for this moment, this season. If you could get that in your head, my gosh, there's nothing you cannot accomplish.
Yeah.
That's the first barrier for me.
Jane, what do you
Yeah, I would say meritocracy.
think? Meritocracy.
No.
Say more about that.
It doesn't exist. It's a myth.
Okay.
And it's a-
Alana, you're the mind
I
as well?
agree, and then I would add, after I open myself and saying how perfect I am, in case I am not perfect, it's also okay. It's okay not to be perfect. This is one of the barriers which we have, because sometimes we raise the hand for promotion for the next career stage only when we think we're 100% ready. It's okay to raise the hand when you are 75% ready, and it's okay to accept you're not perfect. I may not be a perfect employee, not perfect manager, not perfect mother, not perfect wife, and it's okay, because altogether, I'm perfect.
Yes.
And I think it's also perfect for men to advocate for you when they also see those imperfections, right? Melyssa, do you have something?
I'd say assume constraints, whether it's in your home life, your education, your work-life balance. You being able to challenge those and realize your world is more than those constraints. You have to look at your career holistically. You know, whether I think somebody mentioned the partner you choose in life, who you work for is really important, who your boss is, and you mentioned something great. You know, don't be afraid. Failure is okay. Failure is where great learnings come from, and you just build upon that. And so putting yourself out there is really important.
Melyssa, the partner. If you got a partner that's not empowering you, you might have to look at them today and be like, yeah, we may have to have
Honey, that's a whole nother panel. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for your time. This was a pleasure. This was a joy. Read more about it online, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.